And welcome back to some Ringside Heat bonus content on Spotify, on YouTube, on all of your favorite podcatchers. My name is Lex Tan, and alongside me is John Dawson. He is a theme music writer, and he is also a as we've just been as just been revealed to us, possibly a double platinum or possibly diamond selling musician, whichever one it is. Johnny, great to have a one-on-one with you here today.
Yeah, likewise, man. I don't think we've ever done this. So, we're just coming off a lot of good discussions. A lot to talk about. There's always a lot to talk about.
Exactly. So you know what? And right now we don't have a script. We are just sitting here chilling, just talking about just two guys just shooting about wrestling over here. So hey, Johnny. I mean, what's on your mind? What is on what is in your mind as a wrestling fan in this on this day? Do you see clearly?
Yeah. I can't get past the AJ Styles theme song thing. I just I just don't think I've ever seen that before. I really, it was, again, I go to my gauge. My gauge is my household, and I've got two young kids, and I've got a wife who's been slowly getting absolutely immersed in this wonderful thing. And I always watch what resonates with them. And, this all began with the bloodline. All of this began back then. All of this began with Sammy saying, "You're not being very Usi."
Yes.
I think that was the big bang for her. At Cody's return in 38 was the beginning of it with my kids. But I've just watching this narrative unfold, and I'm constantly kind of like, what is hooking them? Right now, I got to be honest, the thing that, if I were to kind of pick where my wife's at, Jey Uso is the runaway number one with a bullet guy in my house right now.
Wow.
Yeah, huge. Jay, and I've been thinking about it because I kind of feel the same way. The beauty of everything that's been happening and all this stuff, Jey Uso's just so organic. So organic. And you know me, and I've said it on the show and in our way backs, I'm probably going to say it several times, of how much I dislike Uso Penitentiary Usos.
Yes, that's right.
Was not a fan. And I wouldn't be again if they ever, God forbid, went back to that. But watching Jey Uso become what he is now is amazing to me. He's almost impressed me. Like, Cody's done what we need him to do. I kind of like Bully Ray's take. It's like, I'm just waiting. I've told my kids, I'm like, wait. There's going to be Cody fatigue. He's going to have to flip. He's going to go heel. It's going to happen. But Jay is just so beautifully rooted and over and wonderful and such a likable guy in the most unassuming way. Right now, he's the guy I can't take my eyes off of. Yeah, that's what's on my mind is Jey Uso.
And you know what? I think we were talking about this earlier in the week as well, about how just the story, and it's not just the story of the bloodline within WWE, but the shoot story of what happened to these two twins of Rikishi. And I remember years ago just remarking about how when we were just doing Facebook group chats, just between you, me, Colin, and Chico, about their DUIs and their run-ins with the run-ins with the law, and the irresponsibility of what they were able to do. And I kind of saw those two actually as almost as almost like Hardy Boys, the next generation, because
Yeah,
they were so young when they had this big break in WWE, and was able to reach this worldwide audience so early in their careers, and it's obviously, obviously connections are involved as well, and let's not
sure.
forget that.
Yeah,
But at the same time, those guys, I'm that like. Wrestling is the ultimate. To me, wrestling is the ultimate meritocracy. You don't make the money, you don't get the eyes on you.
with
You're not.
Ted
You're
DiBiase Jr. Like there are plenty of connections that haven't panned out.
yes.
Like that really means nothing.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, and that's when and when I look at the Hardy Boys, and I've seen what they've done in WWE, and then when they were finally let go, and then of course Jeff has his problems, and and there are horrible things as well too, that that he has to
sure.
fight through those demons, and like I'm not trying to minimize the
No,
struggles or anything like that they have to go through. Matt has his Matt has had relationship troubles, very public relationship problems,
yes,
and eventually with the broken gimmick they found something again, and they were able to get themselves together again. But then demons pop up, and that's something that unfortunately just keeps on happening to the Hardys. Maybe less so to Matt than it is to Jeff, because I think there's a little bit more of a maybe a grounding that I guess Rebby does give to that family in that sort of way. But not to say that Beth Hardy doesn't have that doesn't give that grounding or anything like that.
yeah. I don't
But
know. There, yeah. Mm.
but at the same time, though, I guess the point I'm trying to say over here is that um, the Hardys don't have a Roman Reigns, and that's something that I also kind of noticed when I was watching the WWE biography about Roman Reigns and the bloodline. Is that Roman Joe? He it's he it seems like he took those guys under his wing, especially when he knew that that they were flailing, and found a way to tell them, "Look, you guys, this is the best ever opportunity you were ever going to get in this industry, and you have the opportunity to make it even bigger than your dad did." And
Sure.
and Rikishi, he made it big. He made it big. There's no question about that. That, like, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not The Rock because he did it for The Rock.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some way. There's like Roman must have said something to those guys and others too, obviously. But say, hey, you know what? Don't screw this opportunity up. And if you're gonna do this, we're gonna do this together. And Roman brought those guys from wherever they were, took them into the bloodline, created this story, and look at them. Look at the redemption story that they have, especially Jay. And
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, finish your point.
No,
Yeah.
and I think that's something. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about this industry is that they give you their people give you a chance again, and Jay got that chance, and Jimmy got that chance again, and look what they created with the bloodline, with Roman Reigns, their families, individual families, and their family as a whole, as an extended family, is better, because of this bloodline thing. And it's something that and like not everybody has that blessing.
Well, I'm going to kick it up a level, like move that back, because if you listen to Paul Heyman talking to Rick Rubin last summer, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen in a vacuum with Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman said to Roman, when he was the big dog, when he was trying to pitch, if again, we're taking Paul Heyman's narrative with Rick Rubin,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when Heyman was positioning this tribal chief narrative, he said, "You're going to be remembered for the tribal chief." So Roman has the mentorship of Paul Heyman.
Right.
So it's rolling downhill from Roman to the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But at the end of the day, you go to the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the Masters, and Roman's not a master. He just studied at the feet of one.
Right.
Now he's on his way to becoming one.
Mm-hmm.
but he sat at the feet of Paul Heyman. And so this whole bloodline thing has really been a great trickle down, a wonderful model of mentorship is how it's all just moving down and spreading out because you had the Sammys and the Kevins spinning off of this. Look, Cody is not Cody without the big bad of the bloodline.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who would he have been fighting against? It took The Rock and Roman, and all of this began with, as I understand it, was ostensibly a pitch of Paul Heyman's.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's brilliant because you talk about this business, what wrestling really is, and I can't speak to. I'm not in the wrestling business. I'm a musician, but I also know what it means to have studied with the greats who studied with the greats.
Right. Yes. Right.
When I studied with Red Schwager and Ted Quinlan at Humber, these are guys who worked with Don Thompson, Pat LaBarbera, Freddie Hubbard, George Shearing. Like I can trace my musical lineage back to Miles Davis within a couple steps.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Greatness begets greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And wrestling is a lineage business. You don't go get a degree in wrestling. You study with the guys who knew it, the guys who know it. So my favorite thing about the bloodline is how concentrated it is from one of the best sources in the history of wrestling in Paul Heyman. So Roman's paying it forward. Jay's going to take it. Solo is paying it forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Solo is now inheriting all that, but now you got Toa and Tama.
Mm-hmm. Haku's sons.
Right? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Jacob's going to be in here at some point. What capacity? Who knows? But this just shows to me the quality, and there's a reason why ECW was what ECW was. There's a reason why Paul Heyman is who he is. And I think that's the best thing about. So when you compare it with the Hardys, I mean, the Hardys have Michael Hayes. No disrespect to Michael P.S. Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only one Paul Heyman.
Yes.
And when you got him all in on making sure you are going to be the thing that everybody talks about, forget about it, man. You can't go wrong. I think that guy's forgotten more about wrestling than most people will ever know.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is, okay, yeah, Roman may look like he's doing this for the Usos, but man, he was handed that by one of the greatest players of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't have done this as the big dog.
No, not at all. No.
Like not even close.
Oh man. Yeah. And that's the thing. I know I've said this before on previous episodes, but to go from 2017 where John Cena publicly humiliates him on the air.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in all of John Cena's fault too. Maybe John Cena was booked there to get him up to the task, but Roman forgets his lines during the promo, and John calls him out.
Yep.
And proceeds to continue to use the mic skills that he learned to school him even harder. And you see Kurt Angle's face in the background, his jaw just slack jawed open, and just in awe of what And again, that's another lineage thing. John Cena's first match on the main roster was Kurt Angle. Yeah. As Daniel Puder from Tough Enough, who again, we remember the things that you forgot. But he went into business for himself and tried to break Kurt Angle's limbs. But here comes John Cena, this kid who said he had ruthless aggression. He looked like the most vanilla babyface ever. Yeah. And look at him now. It's like, and seeing how John Cena and the way he schooled Roman, and how that begat where Roman, maybe that was the moment that Roman realized, shoot, I really need to up my game. I can't just be the guy that got handed all of this.
No, and he did really, and it was a big risk for Roman. Well, I don't know. There probably wasn't much to lose because it wasn't really going anywhere. But I remember when that camera panned out on that one episode of SmackDown, when Paul basically abandons Brock to go with Roman.
That's right.
I
Yes.
I remember that very clearly, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good move."
Mm-hmm.
That's what he needed. Um, but all of that was fine. All that was fine. But none of this, again, I say this again, none of this happens in a vacuum. The bloodline isn't even, you can't even simplify it to Paul Heyman to Roman Reigns. Without a Sammy, none of
Oh yeah.
this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Sammy, you go to KO. This has just been a convergence of the best things about wrestling. I think all funneled through this one storyline,
Mm-hmm.
and all these little spin-offs and tributaries off of this one main vein. Anything close to that is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm amazed when I watch the bloodline, the refreshment of it with Solo doing what he does,
Yes.
with Tama. I thought it was done, and I'm blown away. Again, your original question, what's on my mind is how in the blue hell, to borrow a phrase from Dwayne,
Yeah.
is the bloodline getting better? I've never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Storylines come in, they arc, they peter. This one just keeps finding a new way to go,
Mm-hmm.
a new angle. Sure, it will burn out eventually. Of course. Of
Yeah.
course it will. But I am so amazed. We're going on 3 years,
Maybe 4.
maybe 4.
Yeah.
And the bloodline, when you really take this from front to back, when all is said and done, when this finally burns out, you will have seen the longest continuous evolving story in the history of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
which also happens to be the best one.
Yeah. And here's the thing too.
It's amazing.
And here's the thing, you can like there are different stories where you can say that they were long-term stories. Let's say Shawn versus The Undertaker and something about
Sure.
20 years in the making or something like that, right? And that's shoehorned in. And I would say in some ways those kind of like, quote unquote, decades long stories or whatever like that, they were more or less shoehorned into, for the narrative's sake and for, and because there is a level of believability about that, about putting it in that sort of frame. But
Sting versus Triple H at Mania, whatever 30 something that was.
Yes.
That's like, yeah, that wasn't really the story, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But as you were saying, this is something that has originated, or in a sense from, it has originated. It's branched off into so many different levels, but the mainline story is still top-notch, top quality, and better than anything that we've probably seen in this genre of entertainment before.
Yeah.
And and you can and I'm sure that you can actually go maybe 10 or 20 years, and there is going to be a direct lineage to 2020 when Roman started this all. When Roman and Paul rather started. When that moment, as you said, when Paul Heyman walked away from Brock Lesnar and sided with Roman Reigns. That might be the instance right there that that people will look back on 20 years later, that this was the moment that the best era of wrestling storytelling has started.
I can't see a possible contender to this in past memory. Happy to be proven forward in the future, but
I hope it's proven.
I'm not 100% sure I'll be on this earth when that happens, because this was a convergence of so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you have Cody's comeback. Cody's comeback did not necessarily have to get so intertwined with it,
No, no, not at all.
right? Like it's just amazing to have watched Cody coming back on the heels of everything that happened with what he did in AEW just happens to occur as this bloodline thing's unfolding. It's lightning in a bottle.
Hmm.
It's like the first Taken movie. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Don't do 2 and 3. Don't just stop. Stop.
Hmm.
Taken 1, I could watch 100 times in a row and never be bored. This feels like I'm watching Taken 1 over 3 years, but it just keeps amazing me with how they're spinning it. Jay is now off on his own. This whole conversation began with my love of Jey Uso, which shocked me. He can cycle back into the bloodline narrative like that. And he comes back with all this capital,
Hmm.
all of this cachet, and he's going to bring that into that story.
And on
I
top of
mean,
that, on top of that, like there was a bloodline segment on this on the May 10th SmackDown, and it was it was Solo and Paul Heyman talking and basically saying that Solo, upon the orders of the tribal chief, Paul Heyman is now Solo's wise man. And throughout that entire segment, the thing that you hear from the crowd in the background watching this in the live arena, we want Roman. And when you
so yeah,
and
yeah.
so and so when he comes back, when Roman comes back, he is due for a huge face pop, and with Jay also being where he is right now, and building that star power that he already got. The next thing that's gonna have to, the next thing that might happen is that Jimmy, who has been basically besmirched by his younger brother and the sons of Haku, and possibly and with Jacob coming in as well too, they might end up orphaning they might end up trying to orphaning Jimmy from the family. And guess who's going to come in and say, and say, you know what, I forgive you. I'm sorry. Water under the bridge. Remember how we were growing up. Remember, it was always the three of us back in the old days, back in the old house. Remember, it was always the three of us playing with our toys and wanting to and seeing our dad and seeing our dads go off to work these shows, and we're seeing them on TV, and now we're here, and now we're back again. We had something great, but now we're gonna come back and even greater. And when that, and I'm sure there's gonna be a big segment of the audience, and maybe including your wife as well too, that when Jay and Jimmy finally do reconcile with each other, and you
Yeah.
have those three those three cousins, those three cousins reuniting together in the ring to go up against Bloodline 2, and maybe Rock's Bloodline, if you could say that too.
Sure, you got Rock, Tom. Yeah, I know where you know. Finish your thought. I know where you're going. Know where you're going with this. I
and
like it.
and how that's going to build up as well to that particular to that particular story.
Yeah.
That's that. I mean, there is so much. I still don't understand, and I'm loving it though. But I still don't understand how much story they can get out of these guys. And maybe it is because, wrestling's been in their blood for what, 4 or 5 generations now, since the patriarch of the Anoa'i family and patriarch of the patriarch of the Rocks family, basically
Yeah.
becoming blood brothers.
Yeah. The one I think hiccup to all of it is I don't really need to see a Jimmy and Jay reunion as a tag team.
Hmm.
I feel like you could do it in a way where it's like, okay, we come together, once, twice, but Jay, and I think they need to build up Jimmy as a solo act
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
bit too.
Oh yeah. This
Like
is.
I
It's
don't want it to be the Usos and Roman. I want it to be Jimmy, Jay, and Roman.
exactly, and
You know what I'm saying?
that's why it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take a lot
Well,
of time before that
exactly.
happens. Yeah.
In the meantime, and I said this to you before,
Hmm.
one thing I personally really want to see is a Roman return, a Heyman betrayal on Roman. That Roman never said this. Like, I never said that to Paul. You're right. And Paul just goes full heel on Roman, right in there with the new bloodline. They start a beat down on Roman, and what happens? Kingdom hits. And Cody runs out to the ring.
Oh yeah.
Cody runs out to the ring and helps fight off this bloodline with Roman.
Hmm.
And like the mega powers, they back into each other. Maybe they don't say. And then there's the awkward, the handshake. It's a maybe a fragile alliance, but I feel like there's a piece there that would be lovely to kind of go, yeah, that'd be really sweet to me to see Cody and Roman, because the beauty of the WrestleMania 40 story is that those two guys, before any of the run-ins, before any of the shenanigans, put on a hell of a match.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
What was it, 20 minutes? We were there. It had to be about 20 minutes conservatively.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So there's an entry point for those two to stand shoulder to shoulder at a respect for a minute. And I
Oh
just
yeah.
think that would be a nice little piece, you
Hmm.
know? But
It would
anyways,
be.
the whole point being that there are so many ways that you can do this.
Hmm.
And yeah, Roman's going to come back to a massive face pop. However, it is not sustainable.
Hmm.
And I'm saying that right now. Roman will not be a career babyface.
He can't. Well, he's proven that he can't be a career
It's
babyface.
impossible. So he will get his moment. It may run a couple months. It may run a couple big events. This is not the guy. It's just not the guy. It's not. It's so, everybody's doing their wrestling fandom thing. We're like, we want Roman. We want Roman. What WWE needs to do, in my opinion, is they need to carefully manage this before it starts becoming stupid crowds turning on Cody because he's the reason Roman's not there.
Mm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
So Roman is not sustainable as a big. Cody is. He really is.
Yes, I think
But
so too.
right now, there's a groundswell. We want Roman. So if I'm looking at it, if I'm Triple H, I'm kind of going, wow, how do I manage this? Because they want Roman. They got Cody. Well, they wanted Cody. They got Cody. Now they got Cody. They want Roman. You start to kind of go, well, screw you all, because nobody's ever happy.
Hmm.
And this is one of my problems with the wrestling fandom, is that there just seems to be this constant, I don't know what it is, man, this dopamine rush of the thing we don't have that we want to see. So it comes in. AEW is horrible at feeding that. I've never seen more run-ins in my life. It just seems like there was a point, man, I swear to God, I'm watching, I'm just like, I don't even know where this started. There's like 18 people in the ring and they were all just running in on each other.
Mm.
Like it's just that we want this. There's something in the audience that I feel like the inmates are running the nut house in wrestling a little bit.
Hmm.
I think Paul Levesque is doing a really good job trying to manage it, but there has to be a point, as a performer. If I'm a musician, I'm like, if I every gig I played, if I played every song everybody wanted to hear, it would be a disaster of a gig.
Yeah.
You got to control the narrative at some point as the performer.
Hmm.
Anyways, I don't
Hmm.
know.
Well, that's a great point, because and I know we've all talked about this before, but professional wrestling is the genre of entertainment that has such a symbiotic, for lack of a better term, I guess, um, relationship to fans and the people in the arena. It is the only it is it the fan interaction and the necessity of fans in the arena is something that no competitive sport can garner or able to be interacting with, unless, let's say, like, somebody gets too rowdy and so and the referee calls a technical foul on the entire crowd.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it is, and I mean, like, I've been in theaters. I've been in shows. Well, as an audience member, for instance, Monty Python Spamalot. They actually take a good maybe 10 minutes out of the second act to interact, where the characters are still in character, but they are actually interacting with the crowd. And there's this, and because there's like a prize that they give away during the play, during the play, they actually have to break but they have to break the fourth wall for that. There is no fourth wall in wrestling. There is the crowd is like the fourth wall is your TV screen. The crowd is part of the show.
I would sorry, finish your point before I say what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
No, well, I guess what I wanted to, I guess what I was trying to get to is that, yeah, like it's that, like, it is a delicate balance, because I go there and I went into WrestleMania 40, hearing that The Rock was going to be up against Roman Reigns or whatever like that, or that it was no longer going to be Cody in the main event. I was disappointed, yes, but it's not my show. I'm not booking the show. So
And okay, exactly.
and so I want to respect the fact that, that this is where the show is going to be, as much as I want to see Cody. Now, good on the fans. Good on the fans for saying we want Cody. Good on the Cody crybabies. My God, if it wasn't for the Cody crybabies, we'd be telling a different story right now. But at the same time, that is a balance that, like, I don't know, because I've never booked a wrestling show. I don't know how to gauge that. I just know how to tell the drama of it. I just don't know how to make those stories happen. And
Yeah.
good on Triple H for listening and doing that. But the crowd also has to respect what the booker wants and what the promoter wants.
Well, yeah, but again, I two things there. I still maintain that there was a beta test being done with Rock and Cody and Roman. I'm not 100% sure is as organic as we think it was. Um, because I think Paul Levesque is a very shrewd man. I think Nick Khan is equally as shrewd.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there's an argument to be made where fandom has been given too much power to the point where it's been abused.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
There is no argument. I don't care what somebody, and I'm just talking about playing a stupid little bar gig somewhere. If some drunken idiot tells me what song I should play next, what gives him that may be what he wants to hear, but I'm reading the room. I have, I also know that it's so and so's birthday and they really want to hear Hurt So Good by John Mellencamp.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to come next because they also slipped me $50 to do it. There are things I know that the drunken idiot doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And why would I hand my gig to that fool?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we're the fools. Most of us tend to be drunken idiots going, well, you got to do this because that's what we all want. Who cares? You have no idea what we're feeding you and what we're setting up.
Mm-hmm.
And fandom with the stupid rope work 5-star match garbage, we have no clue what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are operating on a level we don't understand.
Right.
So I don't think we had as much power as we ever thought we did over Cody and Rock. I think WWE was like, let's float two scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Right.
Okay, that's going that way. Cool. But you think we really pivoted the WWE to pull the Rock out of him? You think they really were like, oh my God, people on the internet want Cody? Come on. Come on. These guys are not that stupid, man.
But that, I mean, hey, like that's one of the reasons why they're on top, because they, if they can blur the reality that hard, that let's say let's say Chico, and I would say I also sort of believe it on one sort of level as well too, but people like Chico who say that, the Cody Crybabies, we did it, and it's it's
Nope.
and it's yeah, exactly, it's
I
there's
don't believe that for a second, man.
and here's the thing: if they're that much in control of the storyline, that's I'm sorry, but that's freaking
Yeah.
genius. That's freaking genius.
But it's smart because they were like, we could go this way, we could go that way. It's beta testing. What's gonna hit? What's gonna track?
Mhm.
They saw the traction on the Cody Crybaby. Well, the Cody Crybaby maybe took them by surprise. Maybe.
Mm.
That term was clearly Johnson, doing what Johnson does.
Yes.
But they're like, what if, if they're going to get hot, if the crowd got hot for Rock and Roman, they would have dumped Cody in a second. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
bet you any money they had both scenarios gamed out.
Mm-hmm.
Probably going into the coming SummerSlam. Come on. You really think a bunch of idiots on the internet change the W? This is a publicly traded $8 billion company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in the hands of a bunch of schmoes who think they know what's going on. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
no way.
Mm-hmm.
They just chose. They're like, okay, they listened because they saw there was money in it. I don't believe it for a second, man. Maybe it's cynical, whatever. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what you posit. I mean, it is honestly the most plausible thing, because look, like, again, these guys who run the WWE, they're not, and again, we're not putting down the indies or anything like that. It's
No,
we're
not
not
at all.
we're not
Apples and oranges.
yeah, exactly. They're not. These guys have to put on, let's see, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of SmackDown. Yeah, so that's 3 2 2. That's 9 hours plus plus an hour of main event or whatever, and then there's gonna and they're doing more than just the wrestling product. They're doing AEW, A&E documentaries. They're hopping across the country trying to find where all of their missing memorabilia. They have a lot of TV programming to do, and you can't do all
Their
that TV
content.
programming.
Yeah.
You can't do all that TV programming on I guess with on an indie level.
No,
You can't.
it's apples and oranges. You cannot compare the two.
Yeah, exactly, and exactly, and so, and so because you need that level of knowledge and that level of just you gotta you gotta go with the machine. The machine is gonna go no matter what, and you need the best minds to run that machine. You need the best minds to run, and even Jade Cargill said there's a difference between. So she was asked straight up during a WWE press conference, "What's the difference between you and AEW and you and WWE?" When you have people backing you, when you have the machine backing you, and it's. It's not about like the machine being like this this tyranny kind of like
not
soulless
anymore.
thing.
No,
It's the best minds. It's the best minds that could ever be in this business, that could ever be in this genre, coming together and putting stuff together that and as you were saying, Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and then Plan A1, Plan A2, and all that sort of stuff.
They're all gamed out. They're all budgeted out. There's probably proposals on the table for how much is this going to cost? What are we going to do? Like, this is what they do all day, man. they sit there and go, what's it going to cost? What's it going to look like if we do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a bunch of interns and whatever crunching numbers going, well, if we wind up with Rock and Roman, like it's going to cost that much more money because we got to get Dwayne on the main event. They're not going to be surprised by any of this crap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they're going to be prepared for all of that
Mm-hmm.
to a great extent. There's always a great thing that comes up, and a lot of people in the know who've been in the business always say the dirt sheets report what the companies let them know.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about our show and the Ringside Heat brand, we are not a dirt sheet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know any. I don't ever want to be a dirt sheet. We don't have any knowledge of this stuff. We don't want any knowledge of this stuff. I don't want to know this crap. Man, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
We're fans.
Yeah.
Right? The dirt sheets and the IWC, and I don't consider us part of the IWC. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
We are our own thing.
Yep.
I'll fight anybody who says different. But the IWC, according to a lot of people in the business, is fed what the business wants them to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I can see that. Yeah.
And one of the problems with an AEW is they're playing into that. And it's like, bro, you're not controlling the narrative. The narrative's controlling you.
Mm-hmm.
The IWC is controlling them.
Mm-hmm.
WWE knows full well what's leaking. You're not telling me for a second an $8 or $9 billion company that somebody's actually really leaking stuff to Meltzer. Come on.
But I think that's one of the reasons why, and that's one of the reasons why there are people who are, resentful of WWE for that, because they don't have the level of control. And that's like those set of fans, they don't have that level of control. They don't have that level of control over the product that, if they're fans of WWE, as opposed to maybe if they're fans of AEW, because they'll get everything that they want, not necessarily everything that they need to create a great story and to create great wrestling and everything. And that's and the fact that, like, that people are out there, including heads of other promotions, are resentful of that fact that that WWE has all of this success. It's because they know where they are. They know who they are. They know their identity. They know exactly what they have to do in order to be successful, in order to have their wrestlers, because pull everything back, even with AEW, and of course this, John, and of course we all know that there are people whose lives are dependent. We were saying about this earlier with Stone Cold, that people's lives are dependent that this company makes as much money as they can and be successful as they can. They got to feed their kids. They got to feed their spouses. They got to put money away for future generations, and to be lucky enough to be able to work, to be able to be included in a WWE or any major wrestling promotion, but particularly for the WWE. Like these guys have got to put their best minds to it, because these guys are feeding families.
Yeah.
These guys are feeding not just their own, but everybody else around them.
Yeah. 100%. 100%, man.
And that's the thing. Like, one thing I admired about WWE and the story of Cody and Roman that they put through, and in relation to all of this, is that these are two guys who earned every single moment of that WrestleMania stage, both Saturday and Sunday night. Those two guys earned every single thing that they got. And then you contrast that with the other side, where they're calling WWE, horrible names, and they're calling them the evil juggernaut, and it's like, oh, woe is me, blah blah blah. Why don't you watch me? And just because WWE is has shown that they can draw merit, they can draw the merit out of the fans. They have earned each and every one of those things, and that's something I admire about what WWE has been able to do.
It's great theater, but at the end of the day, corporations are going to be corporations. I mean, 2003 documentary on the corporation. Tony Khan is still part of a corporate entity, so he can throw stones all he wants, but he's in a glass house.
Yes.
He has the exact same obligation. It may be his dad's money or whatever, but there's going to be an accountability. It right now may just be to his dad. With the WWE, it's the shareholders. You can't have two corporate entities saying one is worse than the other, because corporate behavior inherently is going to look horrible. And I'm not justifying it, but a corporation's only job under the letter of the law is to preserve its own life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all a corporation needs to do, is to exist and continue to exist despite the consequences socially, morally, whatever.
Right.
A corporation needs to maintain its own. I'm not defending it as an ethical move. It's just the reality.
Yes.
And Tony Khan is in the exact same situation WWE is. So all of that rhetoric, all of that grandstanding is just noise. It's white noise, because they're in the exact same business doing the exact. So he can call WWE all he wants. I promise you, somewhere down the line, there's going to be the exact same kind of crap that can be leveled against him when the next thing comes up. Next new company comes up and they're pointing at AEW as the big bad. Forget about it, man. It's corporate behavior. So he's full of crap because he's going to do the exact same thing. So it's all a dog and pony show. It's all garbage. It's all corporations doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Our position as consumers of this entertainment is just to stay in our lane, take the entertainment as it is. All of us are reprobates on some level. That's just the way humanity is.
Yeah.
It's a fallen humanity. What are we going to do? We've all got skeletons in the closet. We watch wrestling as fans, and to start thinking that things is where I get really annoyed. It's because you don't know things, man. Just enjoy the product, or don't enjoy the product. And if you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. I don't watch AEW. I don't enjoy it. Okay.
Exactly.
Next. But he's not better. He doesn't have any moral high ground over the WWE. Come on. I can't even buy that for a second, man.
Yeah, exactly. But you know
Anyways.
what? But you know what though? I mean, it's one thing I do know is that we're in such a good time in the wrestling industry right now that that we're not talking about we're not talking about if the business will survive we did just a few years after the Attitude Era. It's the viability of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love the Ruthless Aggression era. I love that. I love that era of wrestling. I spent a lot of money in that era of wrestling.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I can't say I loved it, but I didn't hate it.
But at the same time, it was how can wrestling survive with just the one major league, blah, blah, blah. What's happening with the territories and everything. But it built back up. Triple H, Triple H figured things out with NXT, brought it to WWE, and took over at a time where it could have broke WWE, and it didn't. It didn't break it bent. But Triple H made sure it did not break it. It did not break, and thank God, because right now because right now we're living in an era where we're not questioning what's going to happen to the business. We're just, or if the business will survive. We're questioning how far can this go? How much can this grow? And and who's doing what? Who's is this person wrecking the business? Is this person wrecking the business? No, it's we're saying how can we keep this business great as it is, and I'm glad we're really at that point. And I'm sure that, when I jump on with you and Jose for those way back episodes as well, that's gonna be it's gonna be a fun discussion to look back to see where we've been and where and look back on where it's been, where we are now.
Well, yeah, and that's to anybody who's inclined, the way back episodes are not just us, being a bit egotistical, indulging in our own whatevers. It is tracing the very beginnings of a very significant era. It happens to coincide with our birth as a show, but as you listen to it, and as you listen to Jose and I'm sure yourself as well, when you jump in on them, we're actually unpacking the birth of the bloodline, which we established at the beginning of this conversation is arguably the most significant storyline easily in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. Maybe 50.
Yeah.
Maybe since the inception of professional wrestling as we know it, from the time the McMahons started absorbing, Vince anyways, started absorbing territories, this may be the most significant and compelling story in the history of professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think history will prove that right. And we're charting its course.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know it at the time because we had no idea where it was going to go. So my encouragement to anybody listening to this is hit the way back episodes, because you get now the benefit of us contextualizing this journey as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Ringside Heat bonus content here on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also on iHeartRadio and Google Podcasts and Spreaker.com. I just want to thank John here for sticking around over here with me and doing some bonus content here and just shooting about, just the good things. I mean, here's the thing, John. One thing about, there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about, just, criticizing wrestling and just and picking apart what went wrong or whatever like that. But, sometimes you just need to talk about what goes right.
Dude, there's no time to sit there and just crap on everything. Why do you need that negativity in your life? Wrestling's fun. Wrestling's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And you can follow John at John Dawson Music on his social media, and as well, check out his YouTube page. His album will be dropping very soon. We'll let you know about that. And you can also follow the show at Ringside_Heat. You can follow me at Lex Tan Media. And of course, you can tune in on Sauga 960, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock p.m., Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock p.m., 8 o'clock on Spotify and your favorite podcatchers, including Apple Podcasts now. That's a new thing. And as well, YouTube episodes of the video stuff will be the regular episodes drop at 7 o'clock. Your way back episodes on Tuesday and Thursday. And of course, you can always leave us if you want to buy us a coffee, please do so at ko-fi.com/ringside_heat. And by the way, if you're watching this before May the 19th of 2024, we've got tickets to Destiny World Wrestling Zero Fear on May 19 at the Children's Arena, 155 Arena Street in Oshawa, Ontario. Doors open at 6, shows on at 7 o'clock, and you can get tickets at DestinyWrestling.ca, and they'll lead you to exactly where you're going to buy those tickets. If you want to buy them through me, hey, I got a deal, and I'll let you know about that deal. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around and listening to us on the podcast and the video over here and watching us. And yeah. It's a good time in wrestling. Time to appreciate it as well, too. And this is Ringside Heat. We remember the things you probably forgot.